What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, back with another SWAC recruiting update, man. And we had a huge transfer announced that he is going to be headed down to Jackson, Mississippi, and it comes in the form of Utah offensive line transfer Simi Moala. And this was the number one need for Jackson State this all season. It was rebuilding that offensive line, getting Shador Sanders some sort of protection because all season long, that offensive line could not generate a hole for a running back, a push up front, could not keep Shador Sanders clean. And if it wasn't for the escapability and the presence of Shador Sanders, Jackson State would probably not be sitting here as your SWAC champions. It cost Jackson State ultimately in the Celebration Bowl. It was a very worrisome part of that 2021 squad. But for me, looking at this offensive line last year, it ranked dead last in the SWAC with 36 sacks allowed and was a bottom 20 FCS team in that statistic as well. But they've done a solid job, in my opinion. Evan Henry from Louisiana Monroe is going to be an immediate upgrade at that interior offensive line spot, probably going to fit in as a guard moving forward for Jackson State. And then also landing junior college transfer Christian Henderson, former Louisiana Tech offensive tackle, to the class as well. So, Simi is the third offensive lineman to officially sign with Jackson State, and that is going to be huge moving forward because even if these guys don't come in and start immediately, just adding that depth and adding that competition into the offensive line room is huge for the Tigers moving forward. Now, you look at this newest addition, transferring in from Utah, resides out of Inglewood, California, and he was originally signed to Oregon State, guys. So he was in the 2015, he was in that 2015 class, was signed to Oregon State, but he went on a church mission and missed those few years, came back as a three-star defensive lineman in the 2018 class, the number 84 weak side defensive end, the 162nd overall player out of the state of California. And in high school, 117 total tackles, 21 for loss, 13 sacks over his 3 seasons out there playing California high school football. Well, he comes back, he signs with Utah after his mission, and over his 3 to 4 seasons at Utah, started a 19 total games that included all 5 games of the shortened COVID season of 2020. But going back to his redshirt freshman season back in 2019, he was an all conference honorable mention, and that's as a redshirt freshman, man. So this kid was making an impact. And that Utah team, for those who don't know, made the Pac-12 championship, was a top 5 team in the country. And if they don't fall to Oregon in that Pac-12 championship game, this guy could have led Utah to the college football playoff. So he's been on winning teams. He's part of that winning culture under Kyle Whittingham out there in Utah. And then on top of that, he was the starter to start this season, started the first 2 games before officially entering his name into the transfer portal in late September. So this guy comes with experience. He's played for a great head coach in Kyle Whittingham out there in Utah. He's played for a winning program. He's played high-level Power 5 football. These are the type of athletes you need in the room if you're Jackson State in the offensive line area. Now, my guy CFL did an excellent video on some potential guys coming in for Jackson State, past Simi and some of the other guys they've landed. So go watch that video if you want to hear who Jackson State's still in the running for. But this was a big pickup, man. They needed size, they needed physicality, and that's something that Moala can bring immediately to that room for Jackson State. Now, you look at the offensive line from last year, the only guy that I foresee, really, with barring Jackson State not landing another O line recruit, which is probably not going to happen. Tony Gray is probably the only person last year you saw on the offensive line who is going to keep his job. He's probably going to keep that tackle spot. If I don't know which side of the line, I don't trust him at left tackle. I'd put him at right tackle. And for me, Moala is probably going to fit across from Tony Gray at the left tackle spot, which is where he played for Utah for most of his career. Now, and then you got Evan Henry sliding into one of the guard spots. So now you have center and offensive guard up for grabs. So for me, that's going to be the next spot I'm looking for Jackson State to land is who can slide in that guard spot. Now, when you look at Henderson, which was the other offensive line signee thus far for Jackson State, he has played some guard in his career. And so could he slide into that other guard spot and Jackson State just be looking for a center? We'll find out. But depth, competition, physicality, just the whole culture shift in the O-line room is something that Jackson State needs, because I do think it really held them back from reaching their full potential, because you cannot say that Shedeur Sanders is not a great quarterback, and you cannot say that he had a lack of weapons on the outside. So for me, this is going to be this was Coach Prime's mission, in my opinion, was to finally protect his son, get him some help up front. Because if you watch the film from the Celebration Bowl, the front five was getting abused, was getting embarrassed by South Carolina State. You look at what happened against Prairie View with Dumas, embarrassing the center guard center combo up front. You look at the Delta State game, you look at the Bethune-Cookman game, the Alabama State game. There were some atrocious moments, and that's going to be the number one thing I want to see from Jackson State moving forward. But Moala, an honorable mention in the Pac-12, almost 20 games of starting experience to go along with Evan Henry, who has over 30. They're bringing in experienced guys. Now, any offensive lineman will tell you the number one thing is going to be chemistry. How quickly can these guys get on campus, get to know each other, get the communication down, get the relationships built to contribute later in the season? I do think early in the season for Jackson State, we're still going to see some rust, because as an offensive line, you're still trying to learn from each other. But by the second, third game, you have to be ready to go. You have to know how to call out your spots. You've got to know how to step together. You've got to know how to communicate. And that's going to be the number one thing. Is you've got all these great individual pieces. You got Tony Gray, who is a highly recruited offensive tackle, and on top of that was an all SWAC selection this year for the second team. You've got Simi Moala now, a 20-game starter, all Pac-12 selection. You have Evan Henry, who was one of the most accomplished Sun Belt offensive linemen, was the best offensive lineman for Louisiana Monroe in the past few years. You have these great individual pieces. How can you bring them all together? And that's going to go down to coaching. And I know I've talked to a lot of JSU fans who do think the offensive line coach should be on his way out. It hasn't happened, so it looks like they're going to ride with him forward. This is going to be a coach for your job situation. If the offensive line does not take a significant step forward this year, you have to move on from the offensive line coach. There is no more excuses. There is no more, oh, we have to wait and see. They have to build chemistry. Stop making excuses for lazy offensive line play. There is no more excuses for Jackson State going into the 2022 season. You've had 2 seasons to build this lineup. You have the great individual pieces. Put it together if you're a good offensive line coach, in my opinion. It needs to happen ASAP. And for me, the National Signing Day is coming up February 2nd, just a few weeks away. That's where Jackson State needs to land one more significant interior piece. If they do that, I feel very confident about what they have moving forward into 2022 on the offensive line. But Moala was a huge, huge signing for Jackson State, guys. This kid is giant, man, 6'7", over 300 pounds. This kid is a monster, and it's going to add some much needed size to this offensive line. Now it's up to them to develop the mindset and see where they can take it. Because if you can give Shedeur Sanders a clean pocket and not make him have to run around the backfield and escape every play, he can put up some insane numbers next year with the wide receiving core that they're going to have moving forward. But this was a great sign. I know a lot of people were concerned that Jackson State wasn't addressing the offensive line. This was a huge step forward. I need to see them land 2-3 more pieces to complete the entire puzzle, in my opinion. But huge signing. This and I don't give these very often. This was an A signing for Jackson State, in my opinion. Grading this is an A signing for Jackson State on the offensive line. They got all the boxes I needed for the offensive lineman they land to check. Simi Moala checks all those boxes, and I really, really am excited to see how him and Evan Henry play together, because those two guys have the mindset and have the physicality that Jackson State was missing from last year. But guys, keep y'all updated on the recruiting front, man. It's been a busy week with both national championships being last night, and of course this past Saturday with North Dakota State. Now we're shifting into our all-season content. We have a lot of recruiting updates coming later this week, interviews with a lot of great players, so stay tuned for that. Check out our Malachi Wadman interview on our channel, and also we got some more stuff set up. I will be in Mobile covering the HBCU Combine, so comment below what type of content you guys would like to see from the Combine, who you like me to get an interview with at the Combine, and of course I will also be at the Senior Bowl moving forward later in early February as well. So let me know what kind of content y'all want to see from that as well. But until next time, guys, the Blue Bloods are out.